Okay, here we go. Here we go. Welcome back to Real Estate Bites, my friends. It is Friday at noon, and we come back at you live every Friday at noon with real estate news, insights, etc. So we have a new president-elect, an old president-elect, new president-elect. Donald Joseph Trump has been elected to the White House once again, and I feel it's only appropriate to talk about this, and specifically since this program here is it's a real estate program. I want to talk about how this election of Donald Trump might affect the real estate industry. But before we do so, let's have a little bit of a chuckle as we do every week. When the mortgage company shows you your real credit score versus what you printed off Credit Karma. Look at the look of confusion on that buyer's face there in the background. I see this all the time, guys. You look at Credit Karma, you look at these free credit services. The algorithms are different than if you are applying for a mortgage for a home. Credit Karma might be a little more accurate if you're looking to borrow money, say for a vehicle or something like that. But when you're shopping for a mortgage, they figure your scores a little bit differently. So you can't count on it. Credit Karma will be somewhat in the ballpark, but it's not going to be right on, guys. It's not going to be right on. All right, let's move on because that wasn't terribly funny anyways. Okay, so Donald Trump is now president-elect again. And there's lots of expectations, good or bad, about what this means. And I want to focus on what it means for the real estate industry and also a little bit, okay, talk about things that he wants to do and how it may or may not affect the real estate industry. First of all, he talks about lowering interest rates and pushing interest rates lower. Okay, so that's going to be challenging just because one of the biggest proponents of lower interest rates, of course, is the Federal Reserve, but the executive branch is not related, nor is the judicial, nor is the legislative branch of government related to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is supposed to be a separate entity. Whether it's politicized or not is not the subject of this episode today, but it's separate from the other three branches of government. So while Donald Trump can put pressure on the Federal Reserve to lower rates, he's not directly in control of that, and his influence is severely limited. Okay, now what if he does put ample pressure on the Fed, who, again, the Fed themselves is not directly responsible for mortgage rates, though they have an effect by what they do with the rates on bonds, et cetera, and then those, how they subsequently affect interest rates. Nevertheless, let's say Donald Trump is successful in influencing the appropriate industries or institutions, rather, to lower those interest rates. What's it going to do to real estate? I can tell you that low interest rates are going to be awesome for investors. It's going to be awesome for people who are looking to refinance out of the 7.5%, 8% rate where they bought their home at here over the past few years. It's also going to be awesome for people who are jumping into the market and now their purchasing power has increased because they can afford more house since their monthly payments will be lower based on that lower interest rate. However, if interest rates are lowered, it's going to create a more competitive market. Home prices are going to go up just like they did at post-COVID, right? Home prices will increase with lower interest rates. That is not going to fix the affordability crisis that we have and that is reported on here in the United States. Deportation, he talks about a mass deportation. Some people point to that as going to have a positive effect on the industry. I don't see how at all. I have not heard of bands of Venezuelans or Haitians buying up houses anywhere. It might affect rental prices in some of these larger, sanctuary cities where these folks have been bussed off to. here in our area, Lorain County, west side of the greater Cleveland metropolitan area, deportation is going to do absolutely nothing. Okay. So then he talks about attacking regulation. And now this is an area where significant cost could be reduced when it comes to construction. Okay. However, the influence that President Trump would have from a federal level is almost non-existent, guys. Most regulation happens at a state and or local level based on building codes and the permitting processes, things like this. This is where the costs of regulation come into play. And I recently read a study from the National Association of Home Builders, and they say that regulation results in about a quarter of the cost of new construction and a quarter of the cost of land development. And that's a lot. That's a lot of money that is going into construction and land development because of regulation. However, building codes exist for a reason. Building codes and the regulatory departments, the supervisory departments, they've come about for a reason. Are we overregulated? Maybe. That's an entirely different argument. But again, from the federal level, the only real impact on regulation comes from FEMA, they've kind of enforced, or I should say they've influenced regulation at a federal level based on places where there is a greater occurrence of natural disaster, right? So FEMA is having a say when it comes to building codes, coastal Florida, coastal Carolina, maybe West Coast where you have earthquake problems. But yeah, places where you have frequent occurrences of hurricanes, earthquakes, and maybe tornadoes. So Tornado Alley probably has some influence from FEMA on their building codes. Aside from that, guys, it all comes from the state and local level. And is there a way to cut down on costs in those state and local levels? I'm certain there is, and I would love to see those pursued. But President Trump is not going to be the one pursuing them. He's the president, right? He's not our governor, nor is he the mayor, nor is he a zoning official. So then it comes down to tariffs and taxes, right? These are the last things that he wants to do. Lowering taxes, and imposing tariffs. He wants to impose tariffs on imported goods to spur manufacturing here and product development here in the United States. If manufacturing does come back, and if it's just not a cost that's passed on to us, I like that, but that's not something that happens overnight. And the reality is, if we are going to charge tariffs, especially exorbitant tariffs, like the president-elect wants to charge on imported lumber and steel and things like this, if indeed manufacturing of these commodities is going to ramp up here in the United States, it's going to take a while. And between the imposition of tariffs and the development of the manufacturing facilities and processes and pipeline of those commodities here in the United States, in the interim, those prices go up and the cost of construction goes up, the cost of housing goes up. So that's not an immediate fix. The only immediate fix I can see that Donald Trump and his new Red Congress can really impose is through taxation, right? This is obviously lowering taxes on citizens, on individuals, so they get to keep more of their money. That obviously would help everybody. But also providing a tax structure, basically codifying tax incentives for the construction of homes. I mean, one of the things that he talks about doing, and this was not, Donald Trump alone. Vice President Harris also talked about doing this kind of thing, was the selling of federal lands, which actually has been done in and around Vegas, the selling of federal lands to private developers at a low regulation, low taxation initiative so that more housing can be built on federal lands. Do you guys know that the federal government owns about 27% of the land in the United States? Okay, that said, that's an interesting proposition. Most of that land, however, is west of the Mississippi. The vast majority of federal lands is west of the Mississippi. So how it helps anybody east of the Mississippi, where the highest concentration of people is, it really doesn't. Okay, that's not the best, not even really a viable solution, I don't think. But providing tax incentives for developers, for communities, for individuals, what those specific tax incentives should look like, I don't know. I'm not a legislator. I'm not a tax pro. I am a real estate salesperson and head coach of a team. But tax incentives to build more affordable housing, I really think is the only good solution, because honestly, the only good solution to the affordability and housing shortage problems that we have in the United States is more supply. Okay. And let's just talk about it right now. I want to show you some things, guys, to prove this point. More supply is the only answer. Okay. Right now, we still suffer with very low supply. We have very low demand, but it's really not having the effect on pricing that we would like to. Okay, so let's take a look. I want to show you guys this chart and this table. Okay, so let me share the screen here and bring up this one right here. Okay, so this is inventory. Okay, going back to January of 2019. So I'm going to share this tab real quick. This is the stat line for this week's stats. Inventory this morning, 471 single family homes and condos. All right, this is the same stat line, right? This is all in Lorain County. Okay, so this one here is a chart showing that specific stat line. This is single family homes and condos in Lorain County. And you can see what has happened to the supply. Let's go down here and look at tabular data, okay? November of 2019, there were 1,177 single family homes and condos on the market in Lorain County. Just Lorain County, right? This morning there was 471. November of 2019, 1,177. 1 year later, look at the massive decline. And as you can see, it has stayed very low since then. So what happened between November of 2019 and November of 2020? We all know the coronavirus pandemic reared its ugly head. And it wasn't the pandemic. It was the fact that the United States of America shit its collective pants and everyone freaked out, including our government. They gave away billions of dollars. They lowered interest rates to all-time low. So what happened between November of 19 and November of 20 is, with all that easy, cheap money, investors went bananas and bought up 35% of the market, between 30 and 35% of the market. These are investors small and large. And you also had people who had the ability to refinance their homes at all-time low interest rates. And instead of moving to the house they wanted, they did a cash out refinance, and they remodeled the home to become the home they wanted, or added on to it, or just, refinance so that they could either have lower monthly payments or pay their house off quicker, in which case those folks aren't going anywhere. So between November of 19 and November of 20, you see this gigantic drop. I mean, over 50% drop in inventory, right? And it has stayed low ever since. We see right here, 471, November of 2024. I just showed you that, okay? And I want to show you another graph. So again, here's the graph of supply. Now here's the graph of supply and demand. So you see the supply match the one we just looked at, right? And then you see the graph of supply and demand. So blue is demand. These are sales. 2023 was the lowest sales on record. 2024, as you can see, is right there, keeping pace with 2023. So while we had this precipitous drop off in supply between November of 2020 or 2019 and 2020, you can see that demand, it relatively has remained steady. And as we track every week on Real Estate Bites, the square foot price continues to appreciate in homes. So the lack of demand that we've seen over the past couple of years really has not affected price the way the drop in inventory has. So more construction, more houses available for people to buy is really the only good answer. Now, there are other answers, but they're not good ones, guys. And this is something else I've talked about plenty. The other answers revolve deep recessions or economic depressions that are going to be very, very painful for everybody. Okay. So more construction, finding ways to incentivize more construction is going to be the best way to solve both the housing and the housing affordability problems in this country. Okay, very good. So that said, let's move right into this week's statistics. Here we are, episode 66. Like we were just talking about, 471 homes and single family and condos on the market this morning in Lorain County. Last week we had 79 home sales recorded. The median square foot of those home sales was 1,584. The median value was 264,000. And to provide some more perspective, we were just talking about what inventory looked like back in 2019. In 2019, this number, this 264, the median square foot or the median home value was about $100,000 less. So we've seen that kind of price appreciation here in the last 5 years. It's been remarkable. And it's why we have the problems that we're talking about. Median square foot value for closings last week, $156.63. Median days on market, 8. All right, homes are still flying off the market if they're done well and they are priced appropriately. We had a little bit of relief in the interest rates. The Fed dropped their interest rate 25 basis points. A couple days after the election, they went ahead and dropped 25 basis points. Don't really see that so much here. We're at 6.98%. And then the big sale of the week, $915,000 in Lorain. We are on episode 66. We do this weekly. I missed 1 week, so well over a year. You got what? That's a year and about 3 months that I've been doing this. And this is the first time Lorain has seen the top spot. Let's go ahead and take a look at this house that sold in Lorain. Here we're a lakefront property on East Erie. 6-bed, 2.5 bath, 3,600 square feet on 0.36 acres on Lake Erie. And this place is a beauty, guys. This one's fun, okay? Older construction, definitely a different look. I love the use of color. This is just an adorable place here on the lakefront. Love the use of color. I love the way they've highlighted woodwork and architectural features inside this home. Look at this beauty. Very, very nice. All the way through, as you would imagine, on the lakefront. Again, I love the colors. Very little gray in this home. You got shades of blues and greens. Beautiful colors. Beautiful photos, too. Beautiful, deep brown cabinets and doorways. There you see this olive color here. Just a gorgeous home. We're going retro with some wallpaper. I love how they've got highlight colors here in the panel. You see the olive in there. I love this house. This one's fun. Definitely different than the type of home that typically finds itself in our number one spot on these programs. We'll breeze through some of these pictures here so we could take a look at the exterior. That's gorgeous, right? That's just beautiful. Very, very well done. Your basement. I love how they retained some of the old sandstone block in one of the walls. Just, man, that looks amazing. Great job. Three-season room off the back. Nice, beautiful seating right there at the lake. Fantastic. Fire pit out back, right, with your lakefront view. Just a beautiful home. $915,000 on the lake in Lorraine. Well done. All right, guys. That wraps up episode 66 of Real Estate Bites. I appreciate you guys joining me. You can find this every week on Facebook and LinkedIn Live. I've also got a Right Sales Team YouTube channel. It's only got 2 subscribers, guys. We typically get about 300 viewers of this program every week on Facebook. Not quite as much on LinkedIn, but help me out. Go subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find all this stuff. Share it with your friends. And as always, take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. I love you, people. See you next week.